All right, let's welcome Bernie Miklasz into the program. He's here every single Friday. Good to see you, Fungo.
Yeah, I am. I'm always hitting fungos all over the place, right? Hey, about DraftKings pick six. The crown is yours. I gave the peoples in my Bernie show video. I gave the peoples a winner yesterday.
Nice.
That Drew Lock would pass for more than 101.5 yards. He finished with 147.
Nicely done.
And
Good
had the
job.
touchdown.
So then tonight, I actually, not to go against the home team, but Matthew Boyd, the Cardinals have not even been able to touch him in 2 starts this season. 11 innings, shutout innings, 6 hits, bunch of strikeouts. So the line was set Matthew Boyd at 4.5 strikeouts.
I like that.
For the wager for the line of like 5 or more strikeouts. So will he get 5 strikeouts? Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah.
He's
giving you free money.
Yeah, he's done it, and Boyd has done it in 7 of his last 9 starts, 5 or more strikeouts. So anyway, there you go.
All right, beautiful. Bernie, a couple of things I want to hit. First of all, I don't know if you just heard right when you came on that Yadi is going to be in the dugout for a couple of nights. It's nice, 2 years into the contract, virtually 2 full years into the contract as a special assistant to the Pobo, that he's actually going to show up.
I think it's funny, man. I'm also, and by the way, I commend you guys because you handled this the right way, because people are going to lose their mind over this. There's going to be conspiracy theories. There's going to be assumptions. There's going to just be all kinds of nonsense, because this is like crack cocaine for content aggregators and people trying to get clicks, right? I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's a great thing, and I'll be upfront about this. I've already spoken to Oli Marmol about it, and he got a call from Molina, and by the way, Molina can't stand John Mozeliak. Molina likes Oli very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Molina, when he retired, gave Oli Marmol this incredibly expensive Rolex as a thank you for being his manager, and is a gesture of expressing his appreciation for Marmol. They're good. They're real good.
Mm-hmm.
So so Yadi was going to be in town, and he said to Ali, said, I'd like to come by and just see you, maybe, just hang out with the players a little bit. And so then this one thing led to another, and then it evolved into, well, hell, come sit in the dugout for 2 nights, and, Mozeliak wouldn't have agreed to it on his end, but he deferred to Ali 100%. And so Ali's like, well, of course. So I think it's really cool. And I think it's also really interesting, because Ali's always got to hear about, well, Yadi wants to be a manager. Albert wants to be a manager, right? And so everyone's assuming that something's going to happen there. But if Oli Marmol was paranoid or insecure in his own skin about Yadier Molina replace him as a manager, do you think he'd invite him with open arms into the Cardinals dugout? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
So anyway, but no, I think it's kind of cool, especially with the Cubs in town.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get a little bit of a walk up. Maybe you'll have a couple hundred people that'll just want to go and see number 4 strutting around the field before the game.
Maybe put him in the lineup. You announced that you're putting him in the lineup. That would draw some more fans.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Bernie, the other thing that I wanted to touch with you on is, and we've talked about it before, but how amazing the Brewers are. They're 14-4 since the break. Mm-hmm. They were a game behind the Cubs at the All-Star break. Now they're 4 ahead of Chicago, and they lose David Stearns. They lose Ron Renicky. He was their manager in 2011 when they went to the NLCS against the Cardinals. They lose Craig Counsell. They trade Corbin Burns. They trade Josh Hader. They trade Devin Williams. Their lineup has turned over completely in the last decade or so. There's since they got in 2017, since they got Yelich, he's the only guy that's still there in their lineup. It's a completely new lineup, yet they still continue to succeed. And I wonder what the secret sauce is in Milwaukee, because it's phenomenal. They're doing whoever it is, and I don't know if it's Mark Atanasio, their owner, or if they have a guy like a George Kissel was here for such a long time. Somebody's doing an unbelievable job there.
Well, they've had the best front office in baseball for a long time because they've outpunched their weight since 2017. They've got the second best winning percentage in the National League since the start of 2017, despite having rather frugal payrolls. Their front office operation, at the beginning of this stretch, of course, it was headed by David Stearns, but he always had Matt Arnold there, and Matt Arnold comes, both Stearns and Arnold come from the Jeff Luhnow system in Houston. So they're smart people. They learned under the right guy about analytics and everything else. And they also understand, unlike the Cardinals, they also understand the utter importance of developing starting pitching. And they also find starting pitching, like the Quinn Priester move. He was, an early draft pick. The Pirates released him. Boston picks him up. They have no use for him. So Matt Arnold calls the Red Sox and says, "Look, we're concerned because we don't know if we're going to get Brandon Woodruff back and yada yada yada. So, would you be willing to trade Priester?" And Matt Arnold, the Red Sox were like, "Well, yeah." And so the Brewers gave up a supplemental draft pick to get Quinn Priester, who is one of the success stories of Major League Baseball this year in terms of pitching. He's had a great job. They have more pitching than they know what to do with, which is why they traded for Nestor Cortez, and he had a shoulder issue. He's healthy now. They traded him to the Padres. They didn't need him. And they go about 8 or 9 deep in their organization of like legitimate starting pitchers. It's ridiculous. And the other thing about them, they find Matt Arnold in that group he has, they can find players that other teams overlook because they find high value in low risk signings, but their analytics department is so great that they're able to identify traits that they think, all right, we can help this guy. Like Priester, for example. When they got him, they studied all his analytics. And when they got Priester, the reason they wanted him is said, this guy, if he would ever just throw his sinker and throw it low and outside, because when he does, it's virtually unhittable. Why hasn't he been throwing the pitch? So that's the first thing they told him. They said, listen, you're going to throw the sinker, you're going to throw it a lot, and you're going to locate it low and away. Do you got it? You'll thank us later. And that's exactly what happened. And the other thing, so they have a huge advantage in terms of front office intelligence. They have a huge advantage in knowing what to do about analytics to help you find talent. They have a huge advantage of the Cardinals of developing starting pitching. And the thing that we don't talk about enough is the Brewers. Let me get this real quick so I can have the most updated thing. The Brewers are, let me see, where are you all now? Come on, don't hide from Uncle Bernie here. The Brewers have hit only 2 more home runs than the Cardinals this year, and their slugging and their doubles total is relatively the same. And the Brewers slugged 398 and the Cardinals slugged 388. So why are the Brewers scoring 5 runs a game? And why are the Cardinals been sputtering offensively since the end of May? Because the Brewers are athletic. They are one of the 3 or 4 fastest teams in terms of sprint speed in the majors. They lead the National League in stolen bases. They advance on the base paths better than any team in baseball. And so the Cardinals, they can't win games through their athleticism or speed. It's actually a liability. The Brewers understood, like, we don't have a team that's built to hit a bunch of home runs. So, okay, what do we do to compensate for that? Well, they changed the stolen base rules. It's easier to steal than ever. Let's make sure we increase our athleticism. And that's all they've been doing is increasing athleticism and stolen base capability. And the other thing, around here, everybody talks about every time the Cardinals have a game where they move a runner over or whatever, the TV broadcasters, the broadcast, everybody, fans, everybody, it's like, oh man, they're playing small ball. Yeah, they're manufacturing, whoa. The Cardinals are one of the worst small ball teams in the majors. It's a fact. That's not an opinion. A stat that I look at to see if a team's really smart in terms of understanding game situations is productive outs. Because listen, no, it's not like the hitters are going up there to make an out, but if you're going to make an out, do it in a way that can still help your team. The Brewers are in the top 3 in the majors in productive outs percentage. You know who's last in the majors at that? That would be your St. Louis Cardinals. So they don't know how to play small ball. But yet they can't steal bases. They don't run the bases very well. And the Brewers have more sac flies. They have more sacrifice bunts. The Brewers lead the major leagues in infield hits. They also have not. There's only like one other team that's grounded into fewer double plays. And you're saying, well, what does that have to do with it? Well, because they're so fast, they can beat out. They can reach first base on these infield hits because they beat the throws because they run so well. And they don't hit into double plays much because they run so well, they beat out the throw to first. So the Cardinals really don't have a great way of scoring runs consistently. The Brewers have, and again, I repeat, they're both about the same in terms of power. But the Brewers have a variety of ways they can score runs. And that's why they have a huge advantage over the Cardinals.
One of the things that they do well is they take advantage of dumb or disinterested organizations. We all know about Andrew Vaughn, right? They get Savali asks for a trade. They trade him for Vaughn. The White Sox had sent him down. They had no idea what they had. The Rockies put Isaac Collins on waivers, and the Brewers pluck Isaac Collins off of waivers. He's got an 828 OPS. You mentioned Priester, Trevor McGill. The Twins say, no, we don't want to pay this guy. So the Brewers get him, and he winds up being their closer. Even a guy like Quintana. You mentioned that they saw something in Priester. Same thing with Quintana, right?
Right.
And the Cardinals did a good job with Jose Quintana. Nobody wanted him, but they go get him, and he's a key part of their rotation. And another reason why I guarantee you that they didn't think when the season started that Quintana would be more effective than Cortez, but they recognized that it wasn't going to work with Cortez. They get rid of him, and Quintana gets an opportunity. There are a lot of, as we know, disinterested franchises, but then there's a lot of dumb franchises too that will, the Dodgers pluck these guys also. They're great at taking guys that the team that has them has no idea what they have and turning them into a really good player.
No doubt about it. They always find these gold nuggets that other teams don't see, I should say. And they also, when a team has no idea how to get the best out of a player, if that player winds up in Milwaukee, the Brewers, the chances are very good they'll find a way to get the best out of them. One of the more I'm going to tell you 2 more stories about the Brewers. I told you the Priester story. They said, no. Hey, you're going to throw the sinker. I don't know why at Boston or Pittsburgh you didn't use it. It's a great pitch. So you're going to throw it, and you're going to throw it low and away, and you just watch how good you are. And that's exactly what happened. When they got Andrew Vaughn, I love this story because it tells you about how good Pat Murphy is as a manager. You know what I love about Murphy? He is 100% old school. I mean, he holds his players accountable. He supports them. They love him, but he doesn't take no mess, and he will say what's on his mind to his own players. So when they got Andrew Vaughn, who was the 3rd overall pick when he came out, and then he flopped in San Diego, he flopped in Milwaukee. The first meeting that Pat Murphy had with Andrew Vaughn is he said, "Listen, I'm going to be really straight with you. I'm going to put it right out there on the line so we understand each other." He said, "The only problem you have, but it's a huge problem, is you keep swinging at too many pitches or out of the strike zone." He showed him the numbers. He said, "When you swing at strikes, this is what you have done." So he told him, he said, "I've got one request for you, but it's also a demand." He says, "You better swing at strikes as you're wearing that Brewer uniform, or you ain't going to be here." Do we understand each other? Right? I mean, how refreshing is a manager who is that direct with a player? And what a lot of these insecure managers don't understand, players want that kind of instruction. They want to be told the truth about this is how you're going to get better. But there are too many managers in this day and age, they kind of tiptoe around stuff like that. No, I love Murphy. Like he pulled that kid Ortiz out of a game because he took like 2 terrible bats in a game earlier this year. Ortiz, who's their shortstop, they pulled him out of the game. And then had a meeting, and he just said, "Look, you're either going to work harder, your at bats, you ain't going to play for me." period.
Mhm.
I mean, you got to love that, right? And then the other little story, real quick, when they traded Devin Williams, people were like, "What the hell do they want with Chad Durbin?" Chad Durbin's like this little infielder. Gosh, he played baseball at Washington University in St. Louis. You know, what do they want with him? Once again, Randy, to your point and my point, the Brewers know. They just know. And Durbin has been a surprisingly good player for them. And they like him at third base so much that they didn't feel this great compulsion to make a big trade for a third baseman at the deadline. Now, maybe they'll regret that, but they get Chad Durbin, and then not even the Yankees realize what they had in him. You know, the Yankees could have put him at third base, and he would have done a fine job for them, but they didn't know. So that's another mark for the Brewers. You lose Willie Adames, and you know you have Ortiz playing shortstop, and you have Durbin playing third base, and I don't think anybody outside of the Brewers front office would have said, "Okay, no, we'll win with those guys at short and third." You know, anyway.
Yeah, they're great.
Well, one place where the Cardinals could actually maybe pick up a couple paces against the Brewers over the next few years is handling their young talent correctly, Bernie. And you've written about it and did an incredible video about the Cardinals' management of runway. Two big players that have been a big topic of the discussion, one in the majors, one in the minors. We'll start with the majors side. We talked a little bit about the change in the rhetoric around the runway around Jordan Walker. Right before he gets injured in May, Ali Marmol's quoted as saying, "We're going to play him every day, lefty righty, no matter what." And that's when he's hitting really well. He comes back up. He's hitting pretty good finally. And now we're seeing games where he's on the bench because they have to give Lars Nootbaar 4 starts a week. Your thoughts on how they're handling the current major logjam?
I have a problem with the contradictions because, like, on one hand, you know, they put Victor Scott in center field, and they know he can help them defensively, which he has. So I'm not saying they're wrong to do that, but the Cardinals over the last 3 years have got the worst offense from the center field position in Major League Baseball. It's like it's almost comical how bad it is. And Victor Scott's not hitting yet, and they're giving him time, and I appreciate that. But Ali commits to playing Victor Scott basically every day, and yet let me ask you this: If Jordan Walker would get to the point where he's mature and he's learned everything from all the pain and suffering of just being in slumps, and it finally clicks, he would be a player offensively of immense magnitude for the St. Louis Cardinals. He'd be a game changer type player, and he's only 23. So this is a runway season, and I would argue that for your future, there's no guy that could have more impact than Jordan Walker if he figures it out. Yet, Ali commits to Victor Scott every single day. He will not commit to playing Jordan Walker every day. I don't get it. I guess I didn't realize what are they, a game out of a playoff spot? Is that? Oh, that's right. They're 6.5. And so the other thing that I love, the other thing that I love is that, like, they mentioned they talked about Walker and Gorman. So Nolan Gorman worked religiously with Brant Brown because Brant Brown said, "Look, we got to tear down your whole plate approach and start over. We just have to start over." And Brant Brown even told him, he said, "You're probably going to get off to a slow start, but we understand that because you're redoing everything." And that's why Nolan Gorman's bat speed was down, because he was being more cautious instead of gripping and ripping. So if you look at his statistics this year, like late May, he started to hit. In fact, he leads the Cardinals in slugging percentage, and he's second in OPS since May the 26th.
By the way, which is, Bernie, just as a little addendum here, which is when they started playing him regularly.
Right, exactly. So they asked Nolan Gorman, "You got to get better at this. Okay, so compared to last year, and I know it's a low bar, but still, he's improved offensively in some cases pretty, really well in batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage, isolated power, OPS plus. He has cut down his strikeouts. He has increased his walk rate, and he's done a good job, pretty for the most part, of hitting against left-handed pitching. So he's done everything they told him, "Son, this is what you need to do." And he's checked every single box of getting better in all those areas. So this is a runway season for him, right? Runway. Nolan Gorman had over 400 plate appearances last season when he was at his absolute worst as a major league player. He's got a little bit more than 200 plate appearances this season in a runway season where he is improved in every offensive category. Why is he playing less than he did last year when he was the worst version of himself? How in the world does that make sense to anybody of sound mind? I'll give you another one. You know who their best designated hitter is this season? You would say, well, Yadier Herrera. I would say that too until I looked it up. Nolan Gorman, when he's been used as the DH this year, 45% above the league average offensively. He's got nasty numbers, right? 16 points higher than, or it might be 14. Let's call it 15. He's 15% better in the DH role offensively than Herrera's been. The kicker, he's only got 83 plate appearances as the DH. And if any player on that team is built to be a DH against right-handed pitching, it's Nolan Gorman. But Ali likes to use that. Well, I'm going to get Nootbaar off his feet. I'm going to get Arenado off his feet. I'm going to get Contreras off his feet. He uses that. He uses the DH spot as if it's kind of like a lounge chair, so guys don't have to play in the field, instead of putting your best hitter in the damn spot and leaving him there. He did that with Herrera to an extent, for a large extent, but he could do it now with Gorman against right-handed pitching. But he's not committed. And the other thing, see, you guys, Rock, you got me going now. The other thing, I know Gorman looked terrible against the Padres defensively. I'm not going to sit here and claim that he didn't. He looked bad, right? The guy has started 28 games in the major leagues at third base. He was coming off the IL where he had a back problem. No, why? I'm sorry. Were they expecting Brooks Robinson out there? Right? Mm-hmm. And Ali did not even attempt to conceal his frustration with Gorman's defense. Gorman has hardly played the position. I mean, this is a runway season. You're supposed to be patient with guys that mean so much to your future. And so now he told the beat writers Monday in LA, he basically indicated that until Arenado gets back, he's going to probably platoon Gorman and Sajaci at third base. Sajaci against left-handed pitchers. You know that in his first three major league seasons, this will surprise some people. Nolan Gorman, in terms of the fancy pants stat, but to me it's better than OPS plus. I'm talking about weighted runs created plus. First three seasons in the majors, he was 2% below average against left-handed pitching. 2%. He was basically a league average hitter against left-handed pitching. That surprised the hell out of me. It surprised me so much to the fact that I doubled and triple checked it to make sure I wasn't bleary-eyed and entering the wrong information. Basically a league average hitter against lefties. And now in a runway season, you're going to go for Thomas Sajaci over him against left-handed pitchers. And it's Sajaci who I like. Don't get me wrong. It's not like Sajaci destroys left-handed pitching. His numbers are pretty poor. So that's why I just laugh at this whole idea of listen, the runway has been there for some players, but there's a lot of inconsistency in how they apply it. And I think Walker and Gorman, the people that they touted when they were trying to market this to their fans and media, runway. Oh, we're gonna let these young guys play. They used Gorman and Walker as the examples, and yet those are the two guys that have been victims of their contradictory stances on when they should play. So I don't have a lot of confidence that this is actually what we were promised it would be, according to them, the Cardinals.
Bernie, the other part of this that I look at, and I think people in the Cardinal organization would agree, that when you look at the major league team and you look at everybody in the minors, there's only two guys in the entire organization capable of hitting 30 homers at the major league level. And it's the two guys you're talking about.
Right.
When they talk about the future of their guys, the potential of their young players, as much as we love J.J. Weatherholt's potential, he's not going to be a 30 home run guy, likely not going to be a 30 home run guy. Gorman and Walker are the two guys that have the bat that can give you that sort of production. So that's another part of it. And the Cardinals are aware of that too. So you would think that would be something that they would really want to foster, is those guys getting legitimate runways.
Yeah, because that's what this season was set aside for. And there's no two young players that are more important than those two. And yet it's almost like they look for reasons not to play him. And I just don't understand that. And look, I know Ollie's got a difficult job because of the horrendous roster construction, the log jams everywhere, too many left-handed bats, all that stuff. I get that. But it's just a strange situation where you were basically marketing those two to your fan base. Yet Gorman's got fewer at bats this year than he did last year, even though he's their leading slugger since the end of May. And Walker has had two different times where he's looked great, only to have it, interrupted by relatively minor injury and ailment. But he comes back, and is he starting every game? You got 2 months left. Is he starting every game? Because you got to give him as many reps as you can. No, he's not. It makes no sense.
Yeah. One other thing, and I want to get to this. I want to make sure that we talk about Quinn Mathews last night, because Bernie Mathews still has more games started at Stanford. He was a 4-year starter at Stanford, started 45 years there, or 45 games there. He started 43 now for the Cardinals and the minors. He was electric last night. He turns 25 in October. And I get that, hey, there's some left. Sandy Koufax really didn't get going until he was in his late 20s, 30 years old. I don't know if he's going to be that guy. But the way that baseball is set up in 2025 and will be in 2026, you've got to get those 4-year college players that are going to be 25, 26 years old. You've got to get them to the major leagues and get them going at some point soon.
Well, Mathews has been last night was just a gem, and I watched that. It was just a gem, and you got excited watching him. Now, I think he would have been here by now, but they had to shut him down with some shoulder fatigue in the spring, and when he came back, he had no command. He was walking people, and it was really rough. But his last 4-5 starts have been getting better every single time. And like last night, I think he walked one guy, maybe more than one.
9 strikeouts, 1 walk.
And that's a really big deal, because his problem, even though his pitching has been better in the last 3 starts before last night, he had still been walking too many guys. But last night he had excellent command. I don't see any reason whatsoever if he has another good start. And they want to be sure, and I really do get that, because he had that shutdown earlier. They want to be sure. I can't think of a reason why he wouldn't be. You wouldn't put him in your September rotation at the latest. I know. I'm sorry, I forgot. You can't possibly remove Miles Mikolas from the roster. Excuse me.
We were talking about that earlier.
The guy
tell me if you agree with my philosophy here. It's because we had people in the chat saying, "Hey, time for Miles Mikolas to go to the bullpen." For me, if Miles Mikolas isn't in your starting rotation, it's the end of his contract, right? So yeah, I'm with you. I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Mikolas. There are 83 starting pitchers that have thrown 300 innings since the start of 2023. So there's 83 guys with 300 or more innings since the start of 2023. He ranks 80th in ERA. 502.
Yeah.
And yet he's got more job security than anybody on this team over the last 3 years. And he's one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball. I think if you ask me, 5 years from now, okay, let's think back to the end of the John Mozeliak era in St. Louis. Which player represented the futility and just like kind of the mind-boggling judgment? Which player represented that more than any? The answer is obviously it's Miles Mikolas.
Yes.
And he gave him not one. Yeah, he gave him not one but 2 contract extensions. And I joke that there's still time for Mo to give him another one. Mo's not out of there yet. So anyway,
here's my thing. And I'm with you. I want to see Mathews here. I've loved the guy for a long time, but okay. Your starting rotation next year is going to be Gray, Liberatore, Palante, McGreevy. And I think Mathews has to be part of that discussion / competition he has to be
Sure.
next spring. Leahy, whoever else you want to throw in
Right.
there, but
Right.
Mathews has to be given an opportunity next year.
Yeah, and my hope, and listen, I'm gonna, I'll probably be wrong about this, but I really believe that when Chaim Bloom goes to do some wheeling and dealing this winter, which he will, because they have to ease these log jams and they have to balance their lineup better with lefty right. He'll somehow find a way to come out of it with a promising young pitcher, who might even be a little bit below the radar, because that's what he does. And so I think there will be some outside additions, and I'm not talking about some over the hill, hack type starting pitcher. I'm talking about guys that are younger, so like a Quinn Priester type, for example. So we'll see, but even with Mathews in there, it's not a very next year. It's not a very inspirational rotation,
No,
to say the least.
At least I think you'd have a guy that is capable of being a front of the rotation. Certainly, right. If you start the season with him, I agree with you. But at least he provides me a level of promise that, Bernie, I always go back to, and David Stearns doesn't agree with me about having a horse. I'm a guy that wants to have, number one, you have to have a guy that can get you to the playoffs, but I want that guy. It's really important to me personally to have a guy to start game one of a playoff series, because every other team that makes the playoffs is going to have that guy.
No, you better have two for sure, with your third being good.
Yep.
Not great, but good. And then you better have a deep bullpen. That's the formula now. That's why I saw all these teams hustling to get relievers. But listen, and then Liam Doyle's really exciting, and boy, there is so much at stake with his success, and hopefully he can avoid injuries, and hopefully he can get in the groove in the minor leagues like right away. And because Liam Doyle, if all goes well, he'll be up here at some point in that rotation. So they do have some people coming, they do, and that part of it's exciting, and I have no doubt that this is going to improve dramatically. Under Chaim Bloom, Rob Cerfolio, Larry Day, all their whole player development operation. They're going to do a much better job at developing pitchers.
The other big question when it comes to development is obviously everyone's talking about JJ Weatherholt. You wrote about him in the latest Redbird review. You want to see him called up. By my math, they could call him up a week from today, and that would put him inside. They would put him inside the 45-day window. Do you see Weatherholt up before September?
Well, if they don't bring him up, they're nuts, and it's self-defeating, because and I know they got to win the fans back, and they got to win the fans back by providing some excitement, providing someone that has got a ton of charisma and athleticism, and just a personality that everybody loves. And he can hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. He takes walks. He hits to all fields. He's a really exciting player. And he's got, as I always like to say, he goes up to plate, JJ Weatherhold. He goes up to plate, and he really believes nobody can get me out. And it's not that he's like arrogant. He's got that competitive cockiness that you want. He's got that Bryce Harper vibe. I don't care what his ERA is. He ain't going to get me out. He goes into every at bat with that attitude. And this is a guy that Cardinals fans will love. And I guarantee you, unless they're completely brain dead down there, he will be the centerpiece of the offseason marketing campaign. Okay. As he should be. He, more than any Cardinal right now, represents the new era, the beginning of a new era. So if you want to build your marketing around him, and you basically believe he's going to be your franchise guy, why wouldn't you give your fans who want something to feel good about, why wouldn't you give them a sneak preview of coming attractions, and also let him get a month's worth of at-bats or whatever? They did that for Mason Wynn. Why wouldn't they do it for this guy? So, and I don't want to hear, so Randy, I hope we don't disagree on this, because I like when we agree. But I don't want to hear it's like, well, they're going to have to put some guys on the 40-man roster, so they don't want to, you better not give him a 40-man roster spot. They can go to another minor leaguer.
No.
And I'm like, are you bleeping kidding me?
Yeah.
You got JJ Weatherholt, and you're like, you got media in our town. It's just like, because like some fringe pitcher, it's like, well, if we put him on the 40 man, we may lose that guy with the 5.18 ERA down in Springfield. I mean, it's ludicrous.
40 man right now. There's 10 or 12 guys on that 40 man that we will not be bothered at all by them being removed. Here's another guy though. And I think to make this work right, and the Cardinals have to be bold here. And we just talked about Mikolas. They got to do something with Nolan Arenado, right?
Absolutely.
You have to, if you're going to give opportunities to people like JJ Weatherhold and Nolan Gorman, you can't have Arenado taking up space. And that's essentially what he is now. He's a guy that takes up space.
Yeah, I talked to Ollie about this, and I can't get mad at Ollie for what he says, because he is in a terrible spot, and that terrible spot has been created by the people above him.
Mm-hmm.
For this log jam and having this abundance of left-handed hitters, and they all need to play, and all of them have talent to an extent. But Arenado's done as a hitter. And I, with all due respect to my friends in the media, I'm just not going to play this game anymore, of where if he comes back and he has like 3 or 4 good games and everyone's just like shrieking and going nuts, don't count him out yet. Listen, Nolan Gorman this year has an OPS that's 60 points higher than Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado is, as far as his offense is pretty much done. Mm-hmm. And even his defense has slipped. I know our dear friend Mike Claiborne disagrees with that, but I just pay attention to some of the metrics. It'll tell you a lot. I mean, Nolan Arenado is still good at third base, plenty good. But even there's some signs of maybe the range decreasing somewhat. So he turned old as a baseball player early at age 34, and it's only going to get worse. And you have Weatherhold, and, like you pointed out, you want all these guys to play. You want Donovan to play. You want Mason when at shortstop. You want Gorman as your third baseman, or maybe Weatherhold as your, third baseman. Gorman as a DH, whatever. You can't have all these infielders. You can't keep them all and play them all if Nolan Arenado is still in the mix for next year. You just can't do it. So Bill DeWitt's going to have to step up. I told the one thing I said about Ollie, because Ollie was saying, oh, no, as long as he's here, he's going to play. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a leader. He's one of the most respected players of his generation. If he's here, he's going to play. Now, fans got mad at that. And you know what? I don't blame fans for getting mad at that, because I don't believe that he should play if it's not warranted. Mm-hmm. But there's 2 separate issues here. Ollie Marmol is in a ridiculous spot. He's like basically an impossible spot to deal with this. Because can anyone imagine, and think about this for a minute too, and yeah, you can make the case, well, that shouldn't matter. Okay. If Ollie Marmol goes to Nolan Arenado when he comes up, he says, listen, Gorman's swinging a hot bat, blah, 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 blah. He says, I just can't play you as much. You'll get in there, but I just can't play you as much as you'd like. Oh, Nolan Arenado would just be in a wonderful mood after that, right? I mean, he wouldn't be like angry or bitter or disgusted. No, not at all. I had someone said the one thing about Arenado, he's a great dude. We all love him, but man, there's a lot of negative energy if stuff's not going the way he wants it to go. And that's okay. I wouldn't expect the guy to be happy, but so Ollie, basically he's going to get ripped by me and others and you, because he won't cut way back on his at-bats when he comes back. Or if he has him next year, he's not going to use him part-time. He's going to play him. So that gets everybody mad at Ollie Marmol. But you have the owner of the team who has the attitude of well, if we're paying a guy, he's going to play. That's right. Why you had Myles Mikolas. That's why you had Myles Mikolas doing this.
Right.
So what is Ollie Marmol supposed to do exactly?
Yeah.
It's so easy to say you got to bench him. I say that. But realistically, and then the worst thing he could have in that clubhouse, which is a good clubhouse, is a very unhappy, very miserable Nolan Arenado.
Yeah. Yep.
They got to get it done after the season. And DeWitt's got to reach into the pocket, into the wallet, and whatever it takes to move him. You just got to do it.
Two things. Number one, I wish it was 2002 or 2003 rather than 2025. I wish that the guy could have some cream and clear delivered to the clubhouse. But the fact of the matter is, he finished third in the MVP, finished first in WAR in 2022 when he had an 891 OPS. After that, OPS 774. After that, OPS 719. This year, 660. He is in a precipitous decline. You said that he fell off at 34. I would argue that the fall off started in 2023.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
At the age of 32.
I agree. No doubt.
And then when you, I want to go, so I wasn't around. I was born in 1962. I wasn't around in 1963. But Jack Buck told me that Stan Musial, the greatest Cardinal of them all, was a drag for the 1963 Cardinals. And a big part of the reason the Cardinals won in 64 is because Stan Musial wasn't there and didn't have to play all the time like he did in 63. It happened with Ozzie Smith. It happens with all of them. And it's not a great thing, but sometimes that veteran player, that Hall of Fame player, he winds up being a drag on a team and actually prevents them from winning. And I think that's where Arenado is now. And because he's got 2 years left on the contract and nobody's trading for that contract, there's only one play for Bill DeWitt. And it's going to cost a lot, but we've gotten teams are used to it now. Teams are used to swallowing money. I know the Cardinals aren't, but at some point they're going to have to do it. And essentially he's due $42 million over the next 2 years. Do you want to pay him $42 million to actually play and do nothing for you, or not play and do nothing for you? That's the question.
It's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that, because the money's already spent. It's not like you save money by designating for assignment or whatever. And to your point, and by the way, I name checked you in a couple of a video and at least one column I wrote about this. And I said, as my friend and colleague Randy Karraker says, it's not like, okay, you eat the $42 million. It's not like you have to spend money, considerable money to bring a third baseman in. You already have one. And Gorman is, Gorman will make a little more next year, but it's pretty much, as baseball goes, it's pretty much a cheap starter at third base. Mm-hmm. So and by the way, too, Randy, and a couple other points to add to this, because it's all related. Let's not forget that Bill DeWitt got over $50 million from the Rockies.
Yeah, right.
He negotiated that trade with Dick Monfort, his friend, who really is a close friend of his. They negotiated that trade because it was all about the finances. It had nothing to do with the prospects. And Bill DeWitt was able to sweet talk or negotiate his way into getting more than $50 million. The Rockies picking up, deferring the cost of Arenado's contract. So that's on that end. The other thing is, I went back and I did a quick bit of research about sunken costs under Bill DeWitt, and whether it's eating money to trade Mike Leake, eating money to trade Dexter Fowler, releasing guys, Johnny Peralta, Greg Holland, Brett Cecil, Tyler Wig.
Tino, they paid Tino to go to Tampa.
Right. Remember? I forgot about that one. So I'm going to go back and revise that. Thank you. I knew I forgot someone. No, that's right. They paid Tampa Bay. I think they brought in Tino for $1 million because the Cardinals are picking up the rest. Thank you. Yeah. I knew I forgot one. I should have called you first. But anyway, let's add like $3 million with Tino Martinez. So over the years, with players they have released or traded, but they had to eat money to trade them, the sunken cost is over $50 million. So Bill DeWitt's done this in the past. Why in the world, when you're entering a rebuild and you need to give your players that have a chance to give you, like Gorman, something that they don't have right now, which is a pure power hitter? Why would money get in the way of that when you really haven't hesitated to do that through your ownership? You've made those tough decisions to eat the money just to make your team better.
Bernie, this just struck me, and I hope this isn't the case, but you and I both know, because we both talked to Mr. DeWitt enough, he really does love the stat that the Cardinals have had a Hall of Famer in uniform every year since 1909. He loves that stat.
Right.
And if you don't have Arenado, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, you don't have that anymore. I wonder if that goes into the thought process at all. I hope not, but it just struck me because I know how much he enjoys having stars. But if you have a star that's not productive, then what good is it?
Got to develop your own stars.
Yep.
Instead of living in the past. When a guy's done, he's done. Right.
Yeah.
So, but that is an amazing distinction the Cardinals have. And he does want stars. And I think, if they develop their own players and a couple of these guys do become stars, it's the Jeff Luhnow model, which is like you have great payroll efficiency because you are developing your own starting pitchers and hitters. And then you top it off by spending money, going out, adding to it. Oh, we need a first baseman, for example, just hypothetically. You can go sign a first baseman or whatever. That's the way it worked with Luhnow. Although he had the advantage, there was some great talent already there, but he restored their farm system and was able to really build a better overall team to go with the star players through their player development system. And that's what Bill DeWitt wants to do. And that's why Bill DeWitt was absolutely correct in hiring Chaim Bloom. And I hear from people all the time, oh, he only wants to do this to save money. So in other words, you're more in favor of throwing money away on veterans who aren't that good rather than young talent that is ascending and is good. And because of the system, they don't make as much as mediocre veterans who are getting paid more. So your answer would be, okay, no. I want the veterans. He doesn't want to pay for veterans. Okay. So you want them to be stupid and still stuck in the situation they're in. You want them to be morons by wasting money on players that don't represent the value that they need, right? That don't have the value that they need. And, God bless everyone, but these people that somehow think Bill DeWitt's going to get in there and throw down with the Dodgers, and the Mets and the Phillies and but he never did that. Why would he do this now? You know what their average payroll since he's been the owner is about 10. The rankings like 10.5. The 2 years that they won the World Series, they were number 11 in payroll. They'll be getting back in that area again. But this idea that he's going to go in there and by the way, his franchise is no longer a destination spot, so it isn't even the money anyway. Guys want to play on the coast. Guys want to play for someone they think can win a World Series. They're not going to come to St. Louis. This whole Mark McGwire, Jim Edmonds, baseball heaven thing. I'm sorry, it's over with. The Cardinals are not.
Tony Lewis thing too, because every player knew that they had a chance to win if Tony was their manager.
Right. So that era is over where players will, take less money to come here, or even if the money's the same. Let's say Bill DeWitt matches the LA Dodgers in the pursuit of some starting pitcher. Okay. Well, why would the pitcher come here at this point in time?
Yeah. Yep. Good question.
He's not.
Yep. Bernie,
you got to build it up through the farm system, and then you top it off.
Yeah. I want to get one more thought from you here.
Sure.
It might be just a nebulous, stupid thing, but for me, it's a big thing and I think it is for you too, because at the end of the day, we want to see the Cardinals win, and the Cardinals have been a lot of fun for us. And I want to go back for Mike Martz when he was a coach of the St. Louis Rams. He always made it a big deal with his team. 49er week was a big thing. Jim Montgomery, when he got back here as coach of the Blues, playing the Blackhawks, he made sure the players knew it was a big thing. This is a really young team, and I don't know that the group of players has an understanding of how big the Cards-Cubs rivalry is for the fans. I hope that's something that Ollie imparts to these young players, that, hey, this is a big deal for the people that are few as they may be at the moment, the people that are coming out to watch you guys play. Cards and Cubs is a big deal for the fans. I wonder if the players know that, and I hope if they don't know that they find out.
No doubt about it. I was disappointed. I knew it was coming, but I was kind of disappointed to see the scene at Busch Stadium, the first Cubs series this year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I don't want to exaggerate and say that it was a complete takeover by Cubs fans, but man, Cubs fans, their presence really stood out because Cardinals fans were there, but not in the usual strength in numbers. And it's probably going to be the same this weekend. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Yadier Molina tonight or tomorrow maybe he can teach the youngsters a lesson. Maybe he can rush out of the dugout and start a brawl.
I like that idea a lot. Yeah.
He'll be in uniform.
Yeah.
Like why can't he be on the top of the dugout steps like screaming at like Pat Murphy, or screaming at like if Pete Crow Armstrong showboats a home run, right?
I think this is a great idea.
Have Yachty just like scream profanities at PCA off the top of his, right?
That will get the players. That's the thing that all he needs to do is have Yachty talk about it. Because even when Chris Bryant called St. Louis boring during an offseason one time, Yachty's rooster got up a little bit, right? So I think that's a great move. I love that idea.
It'd be funny, man. Just imagine if there's just a little something happens, somebody gets hit by a pitch, there's a little something going on, there's hostilities are rising, and just all of a sudden Yadier Molina comes out of the dugout, right? Would that probably would be the highlight of the season, right? Would it not?
It would, yeah. And Adam Wainwright even agreed. We were only half joking when we talked about it, but then Waino, unsolicited, brought it up one time. He said, "Hey, I'm not taking on a guy with neck tats."
It's true. It's true.
Bernie, great stuff as always. This was awesome.
Great
always
conversation.
enjoyed talking to you. Love you, and
love you, man.
We're going to solve all these problems eventually.
No, and you guys are great with me too, because I give long answers. Like you asked me about the Brewers, but I went and did research and talked to people about why they're so good. I might as well share it, right?
That's great stuff. Right?
Yes,
I know. Fantastic.
So, all right, well, you guys have a great weekend. Love you both.
All right, love you too, Bern. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
That is one Bernard J. Miklasz joining us on the Randy Karraker Show, and we.